The richest man to ever stand in my courtroom looked me dead in the eye and declared that money talks louder than law. That Friday morning, billionaire real estate mogul Richard Blackstone discovered that in Providence Municipal Court, justice has the final word. It began with a simple noise complaint that should have been resolved with a phone call. Blackstone owns the old Paramount Theater downtown, been renovating it for months without proper permits, working crews around the clock 7 days a week. The construction noise is driving the entire neighborhood insane. Jackhammers at 5 a.m., concrete trucks rumbling through residential streets, workers shouting over machinery until midnight. Mrs. Catherine Murphy, 74 years old, a widow living on Social Security, lives in the apartment building right next to the construction site. She's been calling the city for weeks, begging them to enforce the noise ordinances, the permitted hours, the basic regulations that protect neighborhoods from exactly this kind of disruption. But every time city inspectors show up, they get the same story from Blackstone's site supervisor. Mr. Blackstone has special permits for extended hours. Take it up with City Hall. Special permits that don't exist. Extended hours that were never approved. Construction schedules that violate every noise ordinance Providence has on the books. But Blackstone figures his money and political connections make regulations optional. Finally, Mrs. Murphy has had enough. She calls the police at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday, when the construction noise is so loud she can't sleep, can't hear her television, can't live in peace in her own home. Officer Davis responds and finds crews operating heavy machinery in clear violation of city noise ordinances. When Officer Davis tells the site supervisor to shut down operations until morning, the supervisor makes a phone call. 5 minutes later, Richard Blackstone himself shows up, furious that anyone would dare interfere with his project. Officer Blackstone says, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm Richard Blackstone. I own this project. I employ half the construction workers in this city, and I don't have time for noise complaints from people who should be grateful for the economic development I'm bringing to this neighborhood." Grateful for the economic development. Like Mrs. Murphy should thank him for destroying her quality of life. "Sir," Officer Davis replies, "you're operating heavy machinery outside permitted hours. The noise ordinance clearly prohibits construction work between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. "Officer Davis," Blackstone says, reading his nameplate like he's memorizing it, "let me explain how things work in the real world. This project is worth $50 million. It's creating hundreds of jobs. It's revitalizing downtown Providence. A few weeks of temporary inconvenience is a small price for that kind of progress." Temporary inconvenience. 3 months of round-the-clock noise that's making Mrs. Murphy's life miserable is temporary inconvenience. "Sir," Officer Davis continues, "regardless of the project's value, you need to follow city noise regulations." That's when Blackstone shows his true nature. "Officer, I think you're confused about priorities here. Money talks louder than law in this city. My project brings tax revenue, creates employment, and attracts investment. Your noise ordinances cost money and slow progress. Which do you think the mayor cares more about?" Officer Davis writes him the citation anyway, because that's what honest cops do when wealthy people think their money exempts them from following the rules everyone else has to obey. But Blackstone isn't finished. The next morning, he calls Mayor Hendricks directly, demanding the citation be voided and Officer Davis be disciplined for harassment of legitimate business operations. "Mr. Mayor," Blackstone says, "I've invested $50 million in this city's downtown revitalization. I employ 300 people on this project alone. I think a police officer writing me citations for noise violations shows a serious misunderstanding of economic priorities." Mayor Hendricks, to his credit, explains that noise ordinances exist for a reason, and that economic development doesn't exempt anyone from following basic regulations. That's when Blackstone makes his threat. Mr. Mayor, Blackstone says, I can build this project in any city on the East Coast. Providence gets my investment because I chose to invest here. But if your police department is going to harass my operations with frivolous regulations, maybe Hartford or New Haven would be more business-friendly. Direct extortion. Using economic leverage to pressure public officials into ignoring law violations. But Mayor Hendricks forwards the complaint to me for judicial review instead of caving to threats. So there I am, Thursday morning, reviewing Blackstone's case file over my coffee. Noise ordinance violations, operating without permits, threats against public officials. But the case file reveals something much more disturbing than construction noise. Investigation shows that Blackstone has been systematically ignoring city regulations for months. No permits for extended hours, no environmental impact studies, no traffic management plans for his heavy equipment. He's been operating as if city ordinances don't apply to billionaires with development projects. More troubling, city records show this isn't Blackstone's first time buying his way around regulations. Over the past 5 years, he's made substantial donations to city council members, the mayor's re-election fund, and various civic organizations right before major development approvals. Legal donations, but the timing suggests a pattern of using wealth to influence policy decisions. Friday morning, 9:30 a.m., Richard Blackstone walks into my courtroom like he's entering a boardroom where he's buying the company. $1,000 suit, gold watch, that supreme confidence of someone who's used to making problems disappear with his checkbook. His lawyer follows, not just any attorney, but the most expensive legal talent money can buy. Richard Blackstone, Christina calls. Multiple noise ordinance violations, operating without proper permits, threatening public officials. Up he walks, and immediately I can see he considers this a business transaction, not a legal proceeding. Not humbled, like someone who violated community standards. Not respectful, like a citizen facing judicial review. Just calculating, like he's figuring out what this inconvenience will cost him. Mr. Blackstone, I begin, looking at his extensive case file. You're here because you've been operating construction crews outside permitted hours, disturbing an entire neighborhood, and threatening public officials when cited for violations. Do you understand these charges? Your Honor, he says, with that smooth confidence that billionaires perfect when dealing with people they consider employees. I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature and importance of my downtown development project. Fundamental misunderstanding. Like, community welfare is too complex for judges to comprehend. What kind of misunderstanding, Mr. Blackstone? Well, Your Honor, he says, adjusting his expensive